16 lives were tragically cut short in a catastrophic explosion at a Tennessee explosives plant, a devastating event that shook the ground both literally and figuratively. But what really happened that fateful day? And could this tragedy have been prevented? Let's delve into what we know so far and the questions that still desperately need answers. Nearly 3 days after the massive blast ripped through the Accurate Energetic Systems AES facility, a plant specializing in military-grade explosives, investigators are still meticulously sifting through the wreckage. The sheer force of the mass detonation was so immense that seismic readings were detected hundreds of miles away, a chilling testament to its power. This isn't just a local incident. It's a disaster that has reverberated across the region. Federal and local agencies, including the FBI, are working tirelessly to recover remains for DNA testing, a process that officials warn could take days. Sadly, Humphreys County Sheriff Chris Davis has confirmed that no survivors have been found during the exhaustive search. The primary focus now is determining the cause of the explosion, a complex investigation that demands patience and precision. Sheriff Davis poignantly described the situation as a gauntlet of emotions for the residents. The explosion has tragically dredged up painful memories of past tragedies, further traumatizing a close-knit community as first responders navigate the grim scene step by step. Imagine the collective grief and anxiety hanging over the area as families await news of their loved ones. The early morning explosion on Friday at AES, a plant manufacturing explosives for both military and demolition purposes, was, in Davis's words, a devastating blast. While the site was secured by late morning, the initial chaos and destruction were overwhelming. The detonation registered as a 1.6 magnitude earthquake, according to the U.S. Geological Survey, leaving a landscape of charred debris and mangled vehicles. Smaller explosions continued in the aftermath, shaking homes up to 15 miles away and scattering debris across a half-square-mile radius. Accurate Energetic Systems, in a statement released on Friday, referred to the incident as a tragic accident. Sheriff Davis, however, offered a starker assessment, calling it one of the most devastating scenes he has ever witnessed. "It's hell," he told reporters. "It's hell on us. It's hell on everybody involved." Law enforcement resources from across Tennessee, encompassing federal agents and the Tennessee Highway Patrol Special Operations Unit, were swiftly deployed to assist in the investigation. According to a source familiar with the effort, over 300 emergency personnel were on site Friday. The relatively small size of the local law enforcement departments in the area necessitated the influx of support from other agencies. The Hickman County Sheriff's Office, Humphreys County Sheriff's Office, and the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, ATF, are jointly leading the investigation, which Hickman County Mayor Jim Bates anticipates will go on for days. The recovery efforts are particularly challenging due to the nature of the explosion. Investigators face the agonizing task of potentially detonating and recovering additional explosives while using DNA to identify the victims, a process that is emotionally taxing for both the families and the investigators themselves. David Rausch, the director of the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation, stated on Sunday that investigators were planning to perform rapid DNA tests on site to expedite the identification process and provide answers to the waiting families. However, Sheriff Davis emphasized the slow and painstaking nature of the work, stating on Sunday, "We're at a snail's pace. We will work until there is no work left to be done to try and find the answers that need to be found." Davis also revealed that the recovery effort was being complicated by the presence of unexploded ordnance at the site. Investigators are collaborating with the FBI to utilize cell phone technology in an attempt to reconstruct the events leading up to the explosion. And this is the part most people miss: the use of technology to piece together the final moments. It's a race against time to understand what went wrong. Additionally, investigators are meticulously reviewing employment records and conducting controlled explosions as part of their comprehensive investigation. Tyra Cunningham, Assistant Special Agent in charge at the Nashville Division of the ATF, affirmed the commitment to a thorough, methodical, and science-based investigation to uncover the causes of the tragedy and provide the community with the answers it deserves. Cunningham also pledged that the agency would ensure accountability, whether the explosion was a result of criminal activity or an accident, with the aim of preventing future tragedies. In a Monday news conference, authorities publicly identified the 16 victims of the explosion: Jason Adams, Eric Anderson, Billy Baker, Adam Boatman, Christopher Clark, Mindy Clifton, James Cook, Raina Gillihan, Letitia Mays, Jeremy Moore, Melinda Rainey, Melissa Stanford, Trenton Stewart, Rachel Woodall, Stephen Wright, and Donald Yowell. Sheriff Davis poignantly described the tight-knit nature of the community, emphasizing that even if individuals didn't personally know the victims, they likely knew their families. He shared that among the victims were his neighbor's husband and one of his childhood best friends, highlighting the deeply personal impact of the tragedy. Ernest Mays is among those grieving the loss of a family member, his 26-year-old daughter, Letitia Mays. He last spoke with her nearly 3 days before the explosion, remembering her as a vital part of their family. Adding to the family's pain, Ernest Mays stated that he had not received any direct communication from authorities and had only obtained information about the investigation through news reports. "We have a lot of questions and not a lot of answers," said Kelly Avante Mays, Letitia's sister. Lakeisha Mays, Letitia's twin sister, described her as smart, beautiful, loving, and family-oriented, adding, "my absolute other half." Melissa Stanford, a 53-year-old production supervisor at the plant, also perished in the explosion. Her niece, Brittany Kerouac, conveyed the family's devastation in a statement, saying, "To say our family is devastated is to put it lightly. We are honestly at a loss for words, and grief is not linear. In the past 24 hours, I have seen anger, sadness, bargaining, denial, and acceptance." Kerouac expressed the family's hope to bring Stanford home so they could say their final goodbyes. The AES facility, employing approximately 80 people, is located about an hour southwest of Nashville, straddling the Hickman and Humphreys County line. Officials initially reported 19 people missing, but later clarified the number of victims as 16. Sammy Creech, whose home is located about 12 miles from the plant, was shaken by the explosion and then devastated by the news that about a dozen of his friends and former co-workers were on the premises at the time of the blast. Creech, who used to eat lunch almost daily in the building where the explosion occurred, expressed his distress, saying, "I might have slept 3 hours last night, off and on. I could see their faces. I can hear their voices." He noted that the explosion occurred around the time employees were changing shifts, suggesting that a higher than usual number of people were likely present. Tennessee State Senator Kerry Roberts described AES, which occupies a 1,300-acre campus, as a valued employer in the tight-knit community. He noted that employees are often seen at community events and wearing baseball hats bearing the company's name. But here's where it gets controversial. While AES is a major employer, some question whether the economic benefits outweigh the inherent risks associated with manufacturing explosives. Past disasters have left enduring scars on the community, but strong community bonds have fostered resilience. Vigils has been held to honor the victims and offer prayers for their families. Sheriff Davis, choking back tears, recalled the widespread flooding that struck Humphreys County in 2021, claiming the lives of 20 people in the city of Waverly and destroying hundreds of homes and businesses. "Both our counties was hit pretty hard in 21, he said. He emphasized the need for community unity, saying, "We need our communities to come together and understand that we've lost a lot of people. This don't only affect those families. It runs deeper. This could be people that you grew up with." Janie Brown, a resident who knew and worked with some of the victims and their families, sought solace at a prayer vigil in McEwen, Tennessee. She emphasized that the focus should be on supporting the families rather than dwelling on the circumstances of the tragedy, urging people to give us time to heal and pray for us. Counseling services will be provided at schools to support affected families, according to Davis. It's important to note that safety concerns had been previously raised at the plant. Federal records indicate that the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, OSHA, fined the company $7,200 after a 2019 inspection revealed violations related to personal protective equipment, employee exposure to contaminants, and inadequate safety training, among other citations. The company contested the findings, but eventually reached a formal settlement with OSHA. Records show that AES has reported 46 work-related injuries and no deaths since 2016. In 2024, the most recent year for which data is available, the company reported 5 injuries and 1 illness. Adding another layer of complexity, in 2021, Sammy Creech, the former employee mentioned earlier, sued the company, alleging wrongful termination after being blamed for a fire at the facility in 2020. Creech claimed he had been discriminated against because of his age. The company disputed Creech's claim, and the case was dismissed after mediation. Ernest Mays, like many others, seeks answers regarding the cause of the explosion and whether it was accidental or intentional. He expressed concerns about safety precautions at the site, particularly in light of a previous explosion in 2014. That incident, which occurred in an area operated by Rio Ammunition, though Accurate Energetic Systems now operates the plant, resulted in the death of 1 worker and injuries to 4 others. Letitia Mays, Ernest's daughter, had reportedly voiced safety concerns about her job and complained about experiencing nosebleeds at work, but she was waiting to pay off her car before seeking other employment. Her roommate corroborated these concerns, stating that Letitia dreaded every shift inside the building. This tragedy raises critical questions about workplace safety, regulatory oversight, and the balance between economic opportunity and the well-being of workers. Was this an unavoidable accident or a preventable catastrophe? And this is the part most people miss: the long-term psychological impact on the community. How will they rebuild and heal from such a devastating loss? What are your thoughts on the investigations of the incident? Do you think AES should have been more thoroughly investigated after the 2014 and 2019 incidents? Share your thoughts and let's discuss this.